Hello and welcome back, all of you Shadowrun lore fans out there. It's us once more, your lore meisters. Is that what I went with last time? I don't know. It's been a while. Ooh, that's a bad thing to say. It's so easy mode here once again, ready to bring you some more lore for your ears. And tonight I am joined by my wonderful co-host, Austin. Austin, how are you doing this evening?
Doing good, and as always, ready to talk about things that are seemingly innocuous and inevitably horrible.
Well, we're going to find out how that plays out today as we're going to step into some of the new lore that has come out with the 6th edition stuff. We're going to focus tonight on one Michael Bishop. If you
Oh,
don't know him, don't worry. You're going to learn a lot about him tonight.
all right.
And then towards the end, I will throw in my whiteboard conspiracy, and we'll see if you follow me on that idea. I'm sure there are people that are going to listen to this later and be like, no, none of that makes any sense. You're absolutely crazy.
That's fair. Hey, that's what doing the, guesstimation theories, that's the fun part about it.
Yeah, right? That's what it's for. And I want you
Exactly.
to refute my theories. So be absolutely ready for this one. So tonight is Bishop's Gambit. That's what it's officially called in the 6th edition book that recently came out. That's where we're getting all of this information for anybody that is interested in trying to follow up. This is all going to be coming out of Falling Point. I think it came out like 2 months ago, maybe at time of recording. Don't quote me on that. I'll actually have to find out. But we're going to talk about Michael Bishop, who is going to end up being the new CEO of Ares, and we'll see what plays out from there. And my crazy conspiracy theory at the end. Ooh.
Oh, from what I can see, it looks like Falling Point came out about 4 months ago, so
Ah, there we go. See, thank you. Glad you got my back here.
that's what I'm here. It's what I'm here for. Being astounded and keeping us on track.
Yes. No tangents here yet. Okay. So the changing of the guard for Ares has happened a lot. 3 years into his 1 year term as CEO, Arthur Vogel gets voted out by the Ares board of directors and replaced with Michael Bishop of Philadelphia. You guys might remember Arthur Vogel from one of our previous lore casts that we did early on, where we talked about Arthur Vogel and Damian Knight coming head to head against each other for getting the CEO title for Ares. This sparks the end of a rocky run for Arthur Vogel, the former president candidate slash eco lawyer. So a lot of this information that you're going to be getting now is almost going to be straight out of the book. So strap in for this.
Strapped and ready.
Strapped and ready. The basics. We'll start with the basics. No more Damian Knights. That was the word from the board of directors. They wouldn't stand for another mystery man at the head of the corporation, inviting the media to sniff around for details. Although
But he was so cool, Easy. He was just so cool
he
then.
was he was very cool. Damian Knight is pretty cool.
He's pretty sweet.
Just remember that for when we get to our conspiracy board at the end, okay?
Uh-huh, uh-huh, uh-huh.
You might want to take notes. uh, but even saying that, Bishop has been in intensely evasive man since taking over Ares operations in Philadelphia. And of course, the second crash has left him as even more of a question mark with no history. So, taking the CEO chair required him sitting down with board members and divulging the following information that has been gleaned from the minutes of that boardroom meeting. And I will share them with you here. The official statement is Michael Bishop was born Michael Brown somewhere around May in 2030 in the Richard Allen Holmes projects in Philadelphia. He stepped up at 10 years old when his father stepped out, picking up odd jobs to help support his mother and two sisters. He found time to study on the side, which got him through junior high, but he dropped out of high school to take on more work when his younger sister became pregnant. Hustling through 3 jobs, he supported the family while getting his GED, passing business and accounting college classes online. He was able to parlay this into a job with Ares at 20, working his way up over the next decade through discipline and long hours. While he was unknown to most of the corporation, he was mentored by several higher executives who appreciated his work ethic. He was a likely candidate for an executive position when disaster strikes. Crash 2.0 devastated the company, with several executives killed in accidents when the Matrix collapsed. Others erased from the system. General chaos erupts. Michael stepped up again, taking charge of the situation. He might not have had the position, but he projected the authority and, more importantly, the ability to take over. A week of grueling 20-hour days followed. He slept in his office, sending out handwritten letters while Matrix communications were down and providing the steady hand needed to get the ship through the storm. By week's end, Michael, who had introduced himself as Bishop when he first walked into the office, was accepted as the leader he'd demonstrated he was. Missing paperwork be damned.
I
3
mean,
months.
I
No,
mean,
go ahead. Go ahead.
you could argue that he had the best on-hands experience he could have for that position. So, does he need a resume at that point? Like,
Well, they want the next CEO to not be a man of mystery, and he already is a man of mystery thanks to Crash 2.0 and not having any record. This is all just him telling them, "No, I'm from here and I did this and I grew up like this." And if you read through the BS, it sounds plausible but unlikely.
Mhm, mhm.
Like, I don't
I
care what
mean,
your work ethic is.
look, just because he's a mysterious man doesn't mean he's a man of mystery. So,
Oh,
I think
oh.
I think he could have just gotten away with it.
Well, maybe. And again, my
We'll get
whiteboard is
there. We'll get
screaming at
there.
me.
We'll get there. It's all
I
right.
promise we'll get there. Uh, anyway, 3 months
Yeah.
later, right? 3 months after Bishop has stepped in and righted the ship, so to speak, Damian Knight comes to visit him in Philadelphia's Corvus Tower to have a face-to-face meeting. Knight was interested in Mr. Bishop's claim that he was a, quote, distant cousin of Knight and had been sent by him to take charge. The meeting lasted an hour, and when it was over, they held a joint press conference with Knight praising his cousin's hard work and saying how much his stewardship had impressed him. Mr. Bishop had shown that Knight's original confidence in him was well placed, and Knight officially gave him his stamp of approval. Mr. Bishop spent the next 20 years turning the Philadelphia branch into the best run in UCOS division outside of Detroit, which is where their official corporate headquarters are. Soon taking over all of the operations of Pennsylvania and having influence on everything done in the Northeast. It sounds too good to be true already, right? The kid from the Barrens works hard, gets an opportunity, and knocks it out of the park.
Oh, and also just happens to be a long lost related cousin of the CEO, current
Former
CEO of the
former
company. Oh, sorry,
CEO.
former CEO at that point of the company that he happened to show up to help.
Yeah.
I call it coincidence, easy. To
There
me,
are no
this just
coincidences.
to me this just all sounds like one big coinky dink, but I'm starting to think maybe that's not the case.
Stranger things have happened in the sixth world. Like most things in the sixth world, it's partially true. Everything from the official biography has since had records, quote unquote, uncovered that show his story, from birth certificates from his great grandmother to office workers who remember him in the back room in accounting, working late into the night. And if there's no direct route from his family to Knight's own mysterious bloodline, well, the two men both swear to it, so it has to be true. Right?
I mean, they've got the notes. That can't be forged easy.
Handwritten
Come on.
notes? Yeah.
Handwritten notes?
When's the last time you've ever seen a forged handwritten note?
Exactly. And they had to commit that onto like $5,000 pieces of paper because remember this is the Shadowrun.
Paper, it's a scarce commodity. And he's out here writing handwritten notes while the Matrix is down, like it's, gangbusters.
It's just like his forefathers.
The truth, or some of the truth, is that Bishop is a former runner. People say he
Okay.
started as a street hustler but wanted more money, so he started going outside the law. With a heart full of ambition and a head for numbers and a silver tongue, he
Ah.
became a face in short order, assembling small teams to work the Philadelphia Shadows when he was in his late teens.
Hmm.
He quickly figured out the risk to reward ratio and he switched gears to become a fixer. 3 years of that, and a regular Johnson from Ares plucked him out of the streets to move into the Corp Towers. He got cover as a drone in accounting while learning the Mr. Johnson ropes, where he had a knack for getting runners on board that was counteracted by his unwillingness to go for betrayals. That soft heartedness kept him from rising as far as he might have gotten, but it got him loyalty and respect from the teams he hired. When the crash went down, he was able to call in favors, get doors open, and get himself into the big chair in Philly. That
So I mean,
first,
I don't want to sound too generalizing here, but can't we
hmm,
just assume that if somebody's backstory involves them being from the Barrens, that at one point in their life that they've been a Shadowrunner?
I mean, that sounds plausible.
I feel like that's just we can just make that a common assumption at this point, right?
That's just how it works.
Yeah, like that checks out to me. That's pretty dope. That I like the it's it's like a catch me if you can type thing. He's
Yeah,
like he's like I just gotta be a good enough criminal that the corpse want to hire me because I'm such a good criminal, and then
right.
we're on Easy Street.
And I speak to criminals really well, and I hire criminals really well. And then when this advantage comes into play, I call in those favors to my criminal pals and say, hey, get me to the top spot and I'll make it good for you. That's how you play the game.
That's true. They have no reason to doubt it.
Yeah. Well, that first week, potential rivals to Bishop found themselves out of records out of money or out of luck, and they either fell in line or fell off the grid. There is no concrete evidence of Bishop removing players from the board for good, but you don't get to where he gets without a little blood on your hands. Right?
That's true. And when you're a good criminal, that's you know how to do it right, I guess.
I guess. So fast forward a little bit. When Knight is killed in 2080, things go into chaos again.
Mhm.
Arthur Vogel stepped in to take charge, but as soon as he did, he also said that he wouldn't be staying on as CEO. Bishop started his campaign right then, working the angles like he does. He started meeting with shareholders, not executives, working to impress them in small, intimate settings away from cameras and prying eyes, which means he most likely did them some under the table favors that they needed to have done.
I see. He said, "I too play the game."
Well, he's definitely playing the game. While the other 6 contenders were fighting it out, hiring Shadowrunners or hammering away on media programs, Bishop avoided the limelight where possible, and he traveled all across the world to have dinner with one investor after another. That personal touch is a trademark of his, as he loves doing business face to face.
I see what you did there.
Did you?
I did, yeah.
Okay, that's on my whiteboard.
I saw
it's
it.
it's
Uh-huh.
gonna it's
Uh-huh.
gonna come into play. It took him years to quietly build a coalition, and while he worked them over, Arthur Vogel watched the company stagger around him. 100-hour weeks accumulate, and even a dwarf can't handle that kind of pressure nonstop. Vogel's decisions got erratic, his leadership faltered, and people were left without a plan. They'd cleared a path to good fortune, but they didn't have anyone able to run what they've created. In steps Bishop. Supposedly, the way this happened, and Vogel was furious about it, there was supposed to be an ordinary board meeting where the shareholders would just be informed of new products, the quarterly financial report, and other boring corpo speak. And near the end, one of the shareholders calls for a vote on CEO. There is a second and nominee, and the nominee was none other than Michael Bishop. And before Vogel could recognize what was happening, the board pulls votes, and just like that, Vogel's out and Bishop is in. 3 years of prep work all come together in under 3 minutes. Vogel gets escorted out of the building by security. He didn't even have a chance to clear his office.
They didn't even let him get his plant?
Nope. Didn't even they mailed it to him. So now that Bishop is in charge, the first thing he has to do is establish his authority. In recent years, Ares has always been a chaotic mess, and Arthur squandered the best chance in recent memory to straighten it out. So Bishop, now in the big chair, needed to establish how things were going to work. He had numerous small fires that he had to put out and didn't know which one he'll go to first. One of the top ones being deal with Vogel's people. Since Vogel had a few years to replace Damien Knight's people with his own, but he never managed a clean sweep, there are still people more loyal to Vogel floating around. And of course, there are other factions at play as well within the corporation. Vogel's being the biggest and most recent threat. So Bishop has to figure out who they are, whether or not he can use them, and if not, how he can get rid of them without causing major damage to the company or some kind of scandal. The next thing Bishop has to do is pay off his debts. You don't get rewards without promises. Some are patient and will get paid down the line, but some want their agreement resolved as soon as possible. His recent position isn't secure enough to betray his backers, but he can't afford to make enemies yet either. Although whether he would betray his backers is kind of up in the air since he showed such loyalty to his Shadowrun assets that he had acquired in his early career of being a fixer Johnson for Ares Corp. So I don't know that he would actually put a knife in the back of anybody that has backed him to be able to get into the chair that he's in.
Gotcha.
Next step is improve relationships with the Koss. Since Ares is moving from Detroit to Atlanta, the new HQ in Atlanta has brought prestige and power to the nation, and the assorted contracts that have been signed for military support and tax breaks in return are the bedrock parts of this. He'll need to keep the good feelings growing as he doesn't have anywhere to go if things go belly up. Because the UCAS is already mad that they're leaving or relocating.
I mean, that's a lot of money moving out, man.
It is true. Rebuilding relationships with the UCAS. That's also on his plate. Vogel burned bridges with the UCAS and burned them very badly with his eco-centric views.
I see.
But the UCAS isn't in a position to just shut Ares out. The Seven Council Fires War showed them how vulnerable they are without Ares' help. And until the Treaty of Seattle gets hammered out, that vulnerability remains.
So all the corpo help they can get.
Right? And then personal goals that Bishop has. Everything that was listed so far are things that he needs to do for the CEO position that he's acquired for himself. But the one remaining open question is what he wants to do for him. He's always been ambitious, but not greedy. There's really nowhere for him to go up from the CEO position. So now we have to wait and see what he personally values. He does have a decades-long history in Philadelphia, whether that's fabricated or not, still remains to be proven. But it does show his philanthropy and community support to the city of Philadelphia. Obviously, a CEO can make a bigger splash.
You know, when they attend the pizza parties themselves, it's a pretty big deal.
Face to face, remember? Face to
face to face.
So, Bishop's tactics. Bishop is not a ruthless man. He's not a master planner like Knight, nor a high stakes gambler like Richard Villers. Bishop is a negotiator, and he doesn't agree with the idea that the world is made up of winners and losers. He firmly believes that both sides can win, that agreements can be made, and that once a contract is signed, it should be followed. A deal's a deal, as they say. And like most of people that have history in the shadows, he understands that a man's worth is only as good as his word. This does make him somewhat vulnerable to the more aggressive business types that are out there in the world, but at the same time, it builds loyalty and connections. He doesn't have to fight you on his own. He has an entire network of people who will step up to help him out.
It's true.
Yeah.
Why should he punch you in the face when he's got somebody who's willing to do it for him?
Yeah, yeah. And he pays that person well.
Because
This
that
is
person doesn't want to get punched in the face.
uh, this isn't to say he's afraid to move fast and break things when needed. It's just that he prefers a slower, safer approach. When things fall apart, he moves quickly, as you can see with his initial position after the crash, but he already had pieces in place ready to move rather than make it up on the fly. He's the sort of person who practices for hours for a 10-minute speech to make sure it goes perfectly, but he keeps a few jokes in his back pocket in case he gets thrown off. More than anything else, however, he's a listener. Bishop wants to talk to people in person where he can get a good read on them. Subtle shifts in vocal inflection, eyes flickering, or blinks that never show up in matrix feeds. The style of clothing worn, any type of tell that can lay out who he's dealing with and how to approach them is a weapon in his arsenal. So he's basically a gambler.
But he's a gambler who knows that he's going to win the bet. Is kind of what it feels like to me.
For sure, he's got that air of confidence about him, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
From everything that he's experienced so far. But you can tell that he also enjoys reading people, and to judge everybody based off of the subtle ticks or tells or the way they dress, that just comes to being really good at non-verbal cues.
He should have just been a professional poker player. It takes a
But then you're not the head
it
of
takes
a
a lot less
mega
crime.
corporation. Yeah,
Yeah.
you can't buy a mega corporation being a renowned poker player.
I mean, depends on how much poker you win. That's the real thing. No, that's fair. His ambitions are obviously much higher than that, considering that he came out of the woods and was like, "Yeah, I'm totally related to Damien Knight. Don't check on that.
Mm-hmm.
Just trust me, it's cool."
There are some people that believe that he may have latent magical ability, which is why he wants to meet face to face to pull these things off, like a social adept
Mm,
or something like
interesting.
that.
Hmm.
But word from the shadow streets is that, quote, the man's dry as toast.
In terms of his magical
Magical,
abilities,
yeah.
I see. They could have thought of a less mean way to say no. That's
True.
all I'm gonna say.
Nope, dry as toast.
Dry as toast. That's pretty good. I like
Right?
that.
There's people that also speculate that it could be cyberware based
Oh, interesting. Like some type of retinal implant or something.
or pheromones, killer
Okay, yeah.
pheromones,
Uh-huh.
Yeah. That's why he wants to be face to face so that you like him, you want to talk to him, you don't know why, it just feels right.
He had the boys in Ares R&D whip up a little Sex Panther for him.
Hey man, it's possible you get that Delta grade cyberware,
Uh,
especially when you're CEO of the corporation.
It might smell like straight gasoline, but you know what? 60% of the time it
It
works
works
every
60.
time.
Thank you for those expert statistics. Oh boy, that escalated quickly. For Bishop's resources, most megacorp CEOs are staggeringly wealthy, possessing the kind of money that the normal wage slave could only dream of. However, Bishop is different. He's rich. You don't stay in the executive game for 2 decades without getting a little rich. but we're talking millions, not billions.
Mm.
So um he's not Bill Gates rich.
Yeah, yeah. He's no Jeff Bezos,
He's definitely no Jeff Bezos.
but you know what? He's doing all right for
He's
himself.
doing pretty good. He's doing
Yeah,
good. The kid from the streets of Philly is doing good.
he's got at least one house,
At
like he's doing
least
all right for
he can
himself.
afford a house.
They must be doing something right.
Oh boy. Oh, feels too real. Feels way too real. The kind of money that gets you a nice car, a big house, and in his case, a massive wardrobe, but not super yachts or private islands.
It's fair. I mean, does anybody really need like what do you do in your personal time that you need an entire island to dedicate it to? I've never understood the
Uh,
concept.
I would point you in the direction of one man that may or may not have hung himself in prison.
Oh,
I
crimes. You're
think
talking about
I
crimes. You
think
you
you
own
know who I
islands.
mean.
You own islands when you do crimes. Oh, I
Yes,
see.
you
Okay, you know
own
what?
private islands
That's
to do
fair.
crimes. That's what you do on your private islands. You do
That's
crimes.
valid. I think that's the only acceptable answer, to be
There's
honest.
no extradition from your own private island.
Uh,
That's all I have to say about
that's
that.
you're not wrong. Not wrong.
Not wrong at all. What
Not
we're
even
saying,
maritime
people,
law can
yeah, not
touch
even
you.
there. Your international law there, and that's
Yeah.
real broad.
Uh,
It takes forever for the UN to get off their ass to do anything. So I can only imagine how much worse it is in the sixth world for maritime and international law
oh God, dude. It does. I don't.
with how many new countries
To
there are.
to be perfectly honest, I don't even know if it matters because I'm pretty sure that they had established at that point that corpo law supersedes all of it. So I think
Yeah,
that
but
that's really the only thing that
but then
matters.
you have to call the corporate court together, and they have to vote on what's going on and everything. So maybe it moves a little bit faster, but I wouldn't think by much.
Hmm.
Plus, who's to say that you know some of those people on that corporate court don't visit that particular private island? That's all I'm saying.
I mean, it's
That's
just
all I gotta
sitting out
say.
there, easy. What are you gonna not go to the island? I mean, come on, it's
Well,
just sitting there,
who's to say it doesn't belong to a
being
dragon?
being ready to be used for crime.
In fact, it's called Crime Island. There we go. That'll be tonight's question. If you could afford your own private island to do crime on, what would you call your private island?
Ooh, that's a good one.
What would you call your private island that you could do crime on, Austin?
I've always liked the sound of Snake Island.
Snake Island. Isn't there an actual Snake Island that's just full of like poisonous snakes?
Well, then okay, then mine would be Snake Island too, but Roman numerals, so it looks fancy.
I
It's see,
appreciate that.
I want it to be like a Greenland Iceland situation where the people go to Snake Island and see all the snakes and they're like, "Oh shit, it's just snakes here." And then they see Snake Island too, and they're like, "Well, it's obviously just more snakes. Snake Island ran out of room, but we still had more snakes." So we established Snake Island too. They won't even go there. All the easier for crime. Come on.
Fantastic. And I would like to confirm for you that
Uh,
Snake Island does indeed exist. It is an island in Brazil.
of course. You know what? Yeah. Yeah, it is.
Just for anybody that wanted to know.
Oh man. So yeah, Snake Island 2. I'm gonna go with Snake Island 2.
By the way, it's called Snake Island. Again, this is our big tangent for the evening. Apparently, Snake Island has 1 to 5 snakes per square meter
Ooh.
on the island. The island has the highest concentration of venomous snakes in the world.
That's That's a lot of snakes.
That is a lot
See,
of snakes.
again, all I have to do is just surround the entirety of the outer perimeter with signs that say danger, venomous, and poisonous snakes.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it.
You're all set.
I don't even have to hire security guards. Do you realize how much money I'm saving on Snake Island too?
You'll be able to do so much more crime.
So much more money for crime. All I'm seeing is upsides here.
Voting upsides.
What is your evil crime island?
Oh, my evil crime island is called NU, right? New Tortuga.
Ooh, okay. Umlaut, I'm assuming.
Sure, we'll go umlaut.
Okay. New
New,
Tortuga.
yeah, new Tortuga,
Nice.
right?
Okay, yeah, yeah, I support that.
I'm
It's a
gonna I'm
solid.
gonna run all the piracy.
Uh,
I'm not entirely sure how popular piracy is in the sixth world, but it's a time-honored tradition, so I assume it's still going to be going well.
yeah, I mean, it's still reliable. So,
I mean, if we think back to it, there was that whole uh, pirate island in Europe,
yeah,
so why not? New Tortuga, where I do my pirate crime.
I like it.
Fantastic. Everybody share with us in our Discord what your crime islands would be called. What is the number one crime export on your island?
Look,
Oh
every
man.
island needs a major export. It just so happens that ours is
Is
crime.
crime, yeah.
Yeah.
We cater to the criminal. Hey, chummers, just taking a quick moment to say if you are enjoying what you hear, consider coming over to our Discord where you can hang out with us and other like minded Shadowrun enthusiasts. The link is in the description. While you're at it, check out our Patreon over at patreon.com/critical_hits. You get early access to episodes of SINless. You get to vote on upcoming art that you want to see in the shows. And you also get full access to Worm Talks, just to name a few things. It's only $5, and that gets you in and helps us keep the lights on and making the content that you enjoy. And now back to the show. Anyway, back to one Michael Bishop and his resources. Even though he's not super yacht rich or private island rich yet, maybe that'll happen in his future. Uh, his previous position does get him stock options, huh? Huh? Because those have always been really good. I mean, I guess when you get to executive level, they actually
Yeah.
are a
No, they
benefit.
actually are. Yeah, yeah.
As opposed to when you're a
That's
wage slave and here's your 0.2% of a stock.
hmm
And being CEO will give him even more benefits. As it currently stands, he owns less than 1% of the corporation's stock. I mean, as a CEO, that's not a lot.
that is very minimal.
It even states that's a far cry from the heydays of Damian Knight being able to do whatever he wanted due to having an effective majority. I believe he owned 51 or 52% of Ares Corporation when he was CEO. So he had majority shareholder status. So basically, for Bishop, what this means is that at the end of the day, Bishop is an employee of the Ares Corporation, not an owner. He is beholden to the shareholders.
Mm-hmm.
So he can't just use the corporate resources for whatever he wants. He has to produce shareholder value. And while they're likely to give him some wiggle room for a year or two to get the system established, he's on the clock. And the shareholders want their investments to pay off. And he's the one that's going to get the blame if that doesn't happen.
A bigger risk, bigger reward, though, right?
This is what you want if you're going to sit in the CEO chair, right?
Right?
In terms of his own private resources, details are less well known. Gee, who would have thought?
Well, yeah, all the specifics are kept in the file cabinet on Crime Island, so
That's where they're all kept. You have to,
yeah, written
they're
down on
handwritten. Yes.
$5,000 notepad, no, five
These
thousand dollar
notebooks,
sheets of paper containing crime.
these notebooks were specifically made from the Amazon rainforest. Private resources for Bishop are less well known. Thank you, Crash 2.0. Until his edited backstory was released, the man was a cipher who held his cards close at all times. Who's to say that that backstory is actually true? There's nobody to really corroborate it, and anybody who says that they can is either most likely a plant or somebody that's been paid off. He doesn't have a family legacy to draw from unless you make the cousin connection.
I was gonna say that's not true. He's the cousin of Damian Knight. That's a hell of a family legacy to draw off.
Right? I feel like that's a misprint here. Doesn't have
Yeah,
family legacy to draw from. Misprint or the
yeah,
truth?
yeah. That's I don't believe that.
Hmm.
I feel like people are just looking for a reason not to like the guy, you know?
Right? No network of contacts from an Ivy League education, no
Right.
magical talent, no elite military training, no decking skills. He's not even particularly brilliant.
He's dry as toast and he's from the streets, dude. What do you want?
Yeah. Bishop isn't even a chess master. 10 moves ahead and operating a dozen plans at once in case one fails. So, what does he have? Well, kid, he's got moxie.
I was really hoping that the answer was going to be Moxie.
Were you?
I
Because
was.
that's the definite answer. He's
Gumption. I would have also accepted gumption.
Would you have accepted a can-do attitude?
A can-do attitude and a positive spirit will get you a long way, but it won't get you a can of Coke.
Well, it gets you a private crime island either.
See, it's priorities.
It says Bishop has an ability to speak with confidence and the willpower to get things done when he puts his mind to it. There's a phrase that you might have heard about in the past that goes something like, if I can walk and I can talk, who's to say that I can't deliver?
It's true.
Yeah. And Bishop has a knack for understanding what you want, offering it to you, and then giving it to you at the agreed upon price without post negotiation.
You also may have heard that old adage that goes, "I've got two things in this world: my word and my balls, and I don't break them for no one."
That's a good saying right there.
Similar energy.
Similar, yeah, definitely similar energy. Bishop negotiates firm but fair, and he sticks to it. It's a core code of honor that stands out in a world full of people who will stab you in the back just to get one rung higher on the ladder. People respect that, and he uses those people to build out a network of contacts and operatives he can rely on in return. So basically, he's trading on his word, and he comes through and gets you what you want. And so you're going to come to him more often because you know he's the guy that's going to get you what you're after.
Truth.
And that builds a pretty solid stack of Shadowrunners to have in your corner.
Word is more valuable than gold
Right?
as far as crime is concerned.
uh, Bishop doesn't need to be an ace sniper or programmer or shaman or a billiards ace or anything like that. He knows people in those fields who are, and he can count on those when he calls on them.
He knows the guy.
I mean, really, we're just building Bishop out to be like one of the best faces in the business,
Yeah.
which
The
I mean
smart the
makes
smartest
sense.
the smartest way to commit crime is to have someone else do the crime for you easier.
That's so very true.
Like, if you're gonna do it, don't be the one that gets caught doing it because then you don't get in trouble for it.
Exactly.
Crime 101, man. That's the first thing they teach you at orientation on Crime Island.
Crime Island. Come to the Crime Island. Learn from my PowerPoint presentation.
Come for the crime, stay for the brisket.
The brisket on Crime Island is to die for, almost literally.
Well, they have hostage kidnapped a 2-star Michelin chef for usage on Crime Island. So until that ransom gets paid, it's good eating, man.
It's good eating. Oh, so
I
who do we
would
have?
love. I would just sorry, small
No, go ahead.
tangent here.
Yeah, no, go
I
ahead.
would absolutely love to have like a James Bond style supervillain who part of his gimmick is that he's constantly just kidnapping Michelin star chefs to rotate through his kitchen to cook for him on his secret lair base.
Because he has to move secret layers every so often.
Yeah.
But he won't settle in a new
No.
secret layer unless it
He's
has a 2-star Michelin chef.
he's got a refined palate, some would say.
Minimum 2-star.
Minimum.
Minimum 2-star.
uh okay, sorry, back to Bishop.
No, that's fine. If he's not walking around with like a fancy gold pocket watch, what kind of villain is he?
I assume he swings it like a zoot suit
Yes.
situation.
Yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
was thinking too. Let's see. We're on the same page here. We know what's up. I was going to mention Bishop's opposition, since he is uh, the new CEO. That does come with people that are mad that they're not the new CEO.
But everybody likes him.
Well, Arthur Vogel doesn't like him.
Well, he's, you know, easily removed, shall we say. I think Bishop knows a guy that could handle that.
Well, Arthur Vogel it feels betrayed. Vogel has cash in hand, and he's known to hold a grudge. So there's somebody right at the top of the list to oppose Bishop in all of his undertakings.
Fair.
There's
And
also
for pretty good reason.
obviously he was voted out right in front of him. uh During what was supposed to be a mundane shareholders meeting. There's also one Clayton Wilson. Clayton Wilson was in the running for CEO, but got outmaneuvered by Bishop at a very early turn. Once Wilson found out that his big fear was going to come true with Knight Errant being folded into Ares Services rather than remaining a division of its own, he turned in his gun and badge.
He's a loose cannon.
He's a loose cannon.
I was kind of hoping that we were gonna have a couple more people that were joining as part of this alliance of B grade corporate villainy.
Uh-huh.
I was gonna say we could call them the coalition of disgruntled rivals.
Well, don't count them out. There's also one
Oh,
Mitsuko Shiwase Yumana.
Shiwase.
Mm. She's the other candidate who had some support, although minor, in the running to replace Vogel. Her
I see.
her focus has been on getting the Yamana family fortune since her husband's untimely digestion. But she might see being passed over as a slight. There's
We're getting
also
closer. We're
there's
getting closer.
well there's also Thomas Roxborough with rocks back out of the box. He has to be thought of when talking corporate foes. He's never had a particular problem with Ares, but he wants a universal Omnitech to gain AAA status, and he's currently enjoying having a body again, pursuing pleasures denied him for decades. But at some stage, he'll get his fill and remember the one thing that he can never have enough of: power. And with Ares being rocked over the past decade, bleeding money and respect, losing allies, and has even suffered a breakup with the UCOS, the power couple that defined both of them for over 40 years, they've been more vulnerable than ever.
It seems like the perfect time for some corporate dealings.
Does, right? There's talks of bases and hideouts. I mean, the main area Bishop operated out of the Rook, the Ares macro technology skyscraper in Philadelphia. But they are moving to the new Phoenix Tower, which is in Atlanta, and also the Camelot R&D research place. Right? That's the research one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Camelot is the other half of the equation, the Ares private compound that's outside of Atlanta proper, sprawling over several kilometers of campuses, living quarters, R&D buildings, cafeterias, etc., blah, blah, blah. So yeah, Camelot is their other place that exists. Because, of course, when you think security services and you think Knight Errant, you think Camelot.
I mean, the word association is a strong thing.
It really is, isn't it? So that that about sums it up. The other thing he has to worry about is with moving Ares from the UCOS from Detroit to Atlanta, he also now has to compete with the other security company that operates out of the COS, good old Lone Star, and Lone Star winning the security contract for Seattle again by this time also puts more pressure onto his plate. So it's a lot to think about to step into the CEO seat when you're just a smooth talker.
True.
Is that enough to actually pull it through and get Ares back into the game as a powerhouse? I mean, yes, they're still a mega corporation, and they're still one of the original founders in the corporate court and everything, but they have had a lot of shakeups and problems over the past decades, and now we have this new unknown CEO, Michael Bishop, who is kid from the mean streets who stepped up. Supposedly, we don't know if that's true or not, but he's the one calling the shots and in the seat. Although he is still beholden to his shareholders, like we said, not enough money to buy your own crime island yet.
We're getting there though. Every penny counts.
I guess. So, I would now like to take a moment to step over to my whiteboard.
As we've been waiting.
Okay. Welcome to Conspiracy Corner. You may remember it from the SINless show. I have repurposed it for my own devices here of creating my own web of shaky conspiracy. So, the facts that we do know: Michael Bishop, primarily from Philadelphia, belonged to Ares, most likely a Johnson working for Ares to develop Shadowrun connections, right?
Yep.
Nothing about his history is available thanks to Crash 2.0, which is a huge convenience. My crazy theory starts based off of the fact that it's mentioned that Damian Knight and him are cousins.
Which is factually accurate. Go on.
I would love to put huge air quotes around that.
Nope, no quote.
No quote. No quotes here.
Quote implies that there is some type of misinterpretation or falseness to the statement, easy, and I just don't see that.
No, I'm gonna get there. Okay, I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna show you. So before I do my big reveal, um, I would like to point out that Damian Knight did have quite a few rejuvenating procedures done through his career to be able to uh, stay in the game, right?
Huh, uh-huh. Everyone needs a little pick-me-up every now and again, uh-huh.
Well, supposedly he had leonization done, which is the genetic anti-aging treatment that rejuvenates the body at a cellular level, thanks to you know breakthroughs in medical technology due to nanites. You can do this kind of thing if you've got the cash. So I believe it starts there, but you can only do the treatment so many times before it's not going to work anymore. Your body just can't handle it, right?
Mm-hmm.
The procedure is very cost prohibitive, costing in the millions of new yen, obviously. So, as this brilliant mastermind that once played chess with your, well, a couple times played chess with your favorite dragon,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
he's gifted, the chess piece, right?
Right, right.
Um, you would think that a guy like this would want to hold on to the corporation that he helped build and had controlling interest. And he's going to want to find a way to. Damien Knight has always struck me as a man who wants to cheat death. So if you can only do leonization so many times before it's just not going to work anymore, I think you turn to the wonderful world of cloning,
Yeah, that checks out.
right? And you could make clones, and with the way that the sixth world works with persona chips being a thing, you could effectively create your current mind or have your current mind digitally copied and then plugged into a clone body, effectively keeping yourself alive indefinitely. Are you following me so far?
Uh-huh, uh-huh, uh-huh. I see where we're going. Uh-huh.
Okay. All right. So in steps mysterious man number 2, Michael Bishop, a man with no past, or a past that is possibly fabricated. The only thing we know for sure is that he operated out of Philly and then claims distant cousin relationship to Damian Knight, who takes the time to visit him face to face for 1 hour and then goes, "Oh yeah, this guy's good."
I mean, that was a pretty convincing hour, man.
A guy that plays chess with a dragon spends an hour with somebody else and just goes, "Oh yeah, no, this guy's on the up and up. We're cousins." I don't think so. I don't think so. I would like to posit to everybody out there that Michael Bishop is in fact a clone of Damian Knight in an attempt to claw back the company that was taken from him. What do you think so far?
Okay, I see. I see where we're going. I see what you're setting up here.
Okay. So again,
Uh-huh.
going with naming conventions here, and this is this
Right.
is, this is gonna be fun. So we have Damian Knight,
Uh-huh.
right? Uh, Renowned strategist, tactician, and everything. Emphasis on the last name Knight,
Right.
and it's spelled the same way you would expect knight to be spelled as a knight from a chessboard, right?
Huh.
Now we have Michael Bishop. Bishop is
Uh-huh.
also a piece on a chessboard,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
and they're supposed to be cousins.
Mm.
You spend, again, 1 hour of time with somebody in the same office face to face. I think that Knight had a clone activated uh, before the crash happened, or he saw something was going to happen in the sixth world that was going to be significant enough that he needed to initiate this project. And so he has a clone activated. They spin a new name. Conveniently, the crash happens, and they use that to implant this new individual that shares the same silver tongue to step into the same corporation, navigate it successfully enough to go to the shareholders that he needed to go to, talk to them face to face, and convince them that he's the guy that should be running the company. And then conveniently makes it back in time for this shareholder meeting, and the vote is called, and he is named. Coincidence?
Sure sounds like one.
That would be the biggest coincidence ever. I mean, are you now that I've kind of laid that out? This is my whiteboard conspiracy. Damian Knight is a clone, or Michael Bishop is a clone of Damian Knight who wants to take over the Ares Corporation again. That's
Mm-hmm.
where I'm going with this.
I
I
see it.
know, I know it seems kind of loose, maybe. Uh, and we'll see as more information comes out, since this is the most recent development that is
Uh-huh.
happening in the timeline, currently in sixth edition. But I feel like it's there. I feel like we can pull on that thread. What do you think?
I mean, you also have the connection with Damian Knight, Knight Errant being folded fully into Ares as part of the power play move, the corporate structure. Like, it's not crazy. It's not a crazy notion.
No, it's not that far off. I mean, even some of his allies that he's pulled in. He has Sharon Aurelius, who is the daughter of Nicholas Aurelius, who was the founder of the corporation, and is the Aurelius family still holds a decent percentage in Erie's stock. And Sharon Aurelius has backed Bishop's plays so far.
I could see it.
And Aurelius originally, yeah, Dunkelzahn gave the chess set to Knight, and it lacked the Black King, which was given to Leonard Aurelius as a to show that Knight would have a formidable opponent, or somebody to at least match wits with and just so
Right.
happen to be the person that's in control of the Ares Corporation. And here again, we see the descendant of Aurelius backing Bishop, who could be, in fact, a clone of Davian Knight. So the hand holding of the Aurelius and Knight power team could be coming back.
Makes sense. I'm seeing it. I'm seeing the thread.
I mean, it's such a faint thread to pull on, but I feel like it's something that you can at least tangentially put together if you dig through this information. I mean, yeah, Bishop comes out of nowhere, and I'm making a huge accusation and jump based off of naming convention and a meeting that only took an hour. But I don't know. I think it works. I think it works.
I'm down to side with it. I like it.
I
I can see it.
appreciate that. I appreciate you coming with me on my crazy whiteboard experience that's pretty loose with facts. I don't have a whole lot uh of hard evidence to stand on. A lot of it is circumstantial, and it's just putting things together that I know about the people that are involved. But I wouldn't put it past Damian Knight to do something like this. And, being such a prominent figure in the Shadowrun lore already, what better way than to keep yourself alive for longer with the clever application of clones?
You don't gotta beat him, man. You just gotta outlive him, you know?
Yeah, that's the point, right? I mean, listeners, you'll have to chime in here on this one. This is a big conspiracy bomb that I'm dropping of whether I could be right or not. I'd love to hear what you all have to say about this. And come join us in our Discord. Let us know. Refute my crazy whiteboard conspiracy theory, or share your own conspiracy theory that you have here. Maybe you have one that's more connected as to why Ares decided to move from the UCOS to the COS, which seems like a bonehead move because that puts you into direct competition as a security firm against Lone Star, right? Would you have made that move? I don't think I would have made that move.
No, trying to go directly against Lone Star feels like a silly decision.
Right? It does. I wonder if there's something more behind the whole reasoning for the corporate move, other than to get away from the nasty, you know, bug spirit conspiracies that they're plagued with because of the whole Chicago fiasco. Maybe that's the only reason. But I don't know. I don't know for sure. There's a lot left up in the open. That's the big information that you're getting here from this lore dump from the 6th edition, moving the lore forward. Now we have Michael Bishop heading the wheel for the Ares Mega Corporation. They are now in the COS as opposed to the UCOS. What the future will hold with that, I guess only time will tell. Will we ever find out if Bishop is an official clone of Damian Knight? I don't know. Maybe they'll drop some more hints along the way. I would be very interested to see what else comes out, or if anything comes from that supposed connection at all. That's about all I've got for you on Michael Bishop and my crazy connection to Damian Knight and going back to the heydays of the Ares Corporation. Austin, do you have any final thoughts?
I always enjoy when we get to speculation on forthcoming lore, so I'm supporting. I like the clone theory. It's a solid one.
Thank you. There's just not enough clones going around in the sixth world at this
It's
point.
true. It's true. We've got literally everything else covered, you know?
Yeah, we have plenty of body snatching going on. So how about some clones? Let's bring on the clones. uh
It's about time the sixth world entered its clone arc.
yep, we need the clone arc. This is the perfect way to kick it off. All right, you guys. I think that is enough lore speculation for tonight. We're supposed to give you the hard facts of the lore. I gave you what I could. There's still a bunch of holes that need to be filled to complete this chain to figure out who he exactly is. If that ever happens, that's something for the future. Hopefully, we'll get more information. And you're always welcome to come and share your crazy conspiracy ideas with us, or any other conspiracies that are going on in the sixth world that you think that we should take a look at, try and get to the bottom of. Maybe we could do that, right? We're pretty good detectives.
So far,
Yeah.
so good.
Yeah, so far so good. That's the way I like to look at it. All right, guys, thank you for hanging out with us this long. I hope you have enjoyed everything that we've given you here from the fresh new book, Falling Point. Again, that's where we got almost all of this information for Michael Bishop, and then I threw in the extra conspiracy bit there at the end. I hope you enjoyed, or at least maybe you agree with me. Come let me know. But that's going to do it for us. And as always, you guys, we will catch you on the next one.
The Topps Company Inc. has sole ownership of the names, logo, artwork, marks, photographs, sound, audio, video, and or any proprietary materials used in connection with the game Shadowrun. The Topps Company Inc. has granted permission to Critical Hits to use such names, logos, artwork, photographs, sound, audio, video, and or any proprietary materials for promotional and informational purposes on its website, but does not endorse and is not affiliated with Critical Hits in any official capacity whatsoever.